I'd like to announce that our meeting is called to order. I'm going to ask Tina Shelvin Bingham to lead us in a silent prayer and pledge, if we can all stand.
Please, amongst yourself, let's have a moment of prayer. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you all for joining us. And if I may add my own prayer now, I got a message from Nanette Cook as I was coming over. She was going to join us tonight, but her mother has been rushed to the hospital with a racing heart. And so Nanette will be, taking care of family business. But I want to send our thoughts and prayers to the Cook family, the Simone family. And we thank Nanette for her service. I want to thank who's here. I see Glenn Lazard and, of course, Pat Lewis. Thank you for your service and for being here with us. I'd like to welcome everybody here, and I've got some announcements as chair. First of all, this is a public hearing, one of many we've had in the past week. To address the committee on any item, please fill out the speaker form to submit your information to the clerk prior to the call of the agenda item, or you won't have the opportunity to speak. Staff can help you if needed. Items for submission to the committee should be handed to Council Clerk Ms. Veronica Williams, seated to my left. And thank you also, Joseph Gordon-Welch, for being here with us to help. When addressing the committee, please state your name and title for the official record. We do have a 3-minute rule for comments. No debating or confrontational statements will be allowed. The front row to my left is for media only, and thank you for joining us. Food and drinks are not allowed in the auditorium, and all of us, as we're sitting here, please silence your phones and electronic devices so we're not disturbed. I only have a couple of chair announcements that I have the privilege to make. I want to thank all of our committee members. The past week has been very busy. We had a total of 5 town hall meetings, and we got one comment that I thought was interesting. There was one joint committee between Mr. Lazard and Mr. Lewis, and I think someone mentioned to us that they had hoped we could have more, and so people do want to hear what's going on, and you were the only ones that combined. Actually, Nanette Cook and Liz had tried to combine, but there was a conflict in their schedules. But I want to thank you all for all you've done this week to miss your family dinners, miss time, doing what you want to do, to attend to the Protect the City Committee, in particular our elected officials and our parish officials, including, I see Brian Tabor. I don't think there's any other parish official here, but thank you for joining us. I also want to say that I'm grateful for the media, for the coverage we've had. I've been getting a lot of phone calls. I'd like to get comments from you guys in a bit, but I noticed there was an article in the paper that said that it may be possible that the parish council may not support our work, and I personally find that might be a little preemptive, but we don't know. But we're taking this one day at a time. So thank you for coverage, but we're just here to do our report, and we're very hopeful that we can work together with our city and parish council and get the votes needed to move this work forward so that we can shine the light on what we can do to enhance our whole community, city and parish. Do we have any announcements from other committee members before we start? All right. So we're on agenda item number 3. I'd like to recognize our fellow committee members that are here. Anyone that has any thoughts on the draft report. And again, we just have our draft report at this point. We've gotten a lot of public feedback this past week, and we're going to maybe merge items 3 and 4 together if I can take that privilege. But I'd like to ask our committee members for their thoughts, first on the draft report, and you can roll in your thoughts about what you've heard this week. I can say from my perspective, I had called Stuart and I had asked him to do an executive summary. We have a 27 or 28-page report, and I had asked if people that are reading it that may not be wanting to spend, a couple of hours thinking about what we said, I think if we can start out with an executive summary and then end with our conclusions, we can have the body setting forth what we think. But those are only my thoughts, and I'd like to hear more thoughts. I don't know if we want to start maybe from the left. Are there any thoughts from Roddy? Anybody want to speak up about the draft report?
Yeah, one of the things that I heard is that it is a pretty hefty read for people, so I think an executive summary kind of hitting the high points may get people's attention, and if they want to dig in, I know that the information's there. I'm also working our emails back and forth this morning about an appendix of documents. I'm working on that right now. We got to scan in a lot of stuff, and some of the stuff's confidential, like our addresses and things that are in our binder, but like that kind of thing is, we're going to work on that too, to provide as much information as possible so that people can see what we saw and have access to our videos and everything else. So executive summary, I definitely think is a good idea.
Thank you. And also, Bill is next, Bill Leindecker. Bill spoke very coherently last night, and Bill also put together a comprehensive answer to all the 14 questions that the City Council had asked us to answer. And I'm hopeful that we can at least include that in our appendix, just to show like what one of our committee members said. But Bill, do you have any comments? No?
Not really. I agree with Roddy. Anything to make it easier to read while still keeping the important and salient points. I'm for that.
I am all for it as well. Is that it? That's basic. I think I think we all agree that it's a long read, and I think a 1 or 2 page summary would really help people really catch the gist of the document as well.
Okay. And you're on the drafting committee,
Absolutely.
along with Stuart and Roddy. So, okay.
I think the draft was well written, well put together after the research and the studying we did. People, as I move about the town, had comments on it. I think most people did not read it in its entirety, but the questions that they posed to me were very interesting in the light that people see the need for deconsolidation and the city of Lafayette having its own mayor. I was a little disturbed. There was it's an email that was sent out, and the person who sent it, they criticized certain pages in the draft report, but they did not sign their name. They put a first name and an initial. So when that happens, I just overlook it, because if you can't identify yourself, then, why send the report? I mean, we don't know who's sending it. I also think that at one town hall, our 28-page report was compared to what the administration here, the mayor president, presented back in March or early April. And those two documents can't really be compared. If you look at the documents, you have pictures and graphs, and it's just not a document to be compared with what the committee put together, the 28 pages. So, but all in all, I think that what's in it, the information is factual, and it's very well put together. Madam Chair?
I don't have anything in particular to say, except I wanted to thank you for the town hall last night, and to all the other committee members who hosted town halls with their council members and put in lots of work to help get the message out to the public about our report, which has always been our goal as a committee to involve the public in a transparent process, and I think we can be proud of that effort. So thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
So I know it's a lot of work and a lot of information. So I'm going to apply a criterion, excuse me, and make a statement back when the Finance Subcommittee did a report. I took the liberty of breaking down the budget of the Drainage Department, and comments were made that this has not been verified. There are figures in this report. Once again, not to be a contrarian, but there are figures in this report that have not been verified, and I think it would be a good idea to, as kind of is being suggested by Roddy, put a footnote in where did these figures come from. I think it's pretty, well, I'm not sure. I think I have a pretty good idea where they came from, but once again, just to details, devil's in the details. And look, I'll say it, and I'm not ready to go through my full spiel here, but there are things with which I disagree. It's looking like I'm going to be the Lone Ranger, and that is what it is. And by the way, Tina, it was a good meeting last night, and I commented that I've never been, I don't do group think, and I wasn't implying that the other committee members were doing group think. What I was implying was for myself, just because there's a consensus among others. If my opinion differs, I'm going to voice that. So, but there was a good observation on your part. I just thought about that when I was driving home last night. You know how when it's quiet and you're by yourself, things occur to you. But it's a good observation. So, yeah, it's a lot of work in here, and just possibly add a little detail is my suggestion.
Pat Lewis, would you like to say anything as we're talking about the draft report?
I agree that the draft report was well put together. A lot of time was spent. You can tell if you read the 28 pages. But what Rod is saying, I can concur what he's talking about. But I think if you want to shorten it a little bit, I would think it maybe should stay as is, and then turn around and make you a little points that you would like to point, because some people do love to read, to get a lot more detail. And they feel that the facts or what you have in there is more factual. And some people do not like to read. They like to skim through things. So those that want to skim through them, let them, somehow you can fix it where you can have both reports. Because I don't want people to come back and say, we only have a 2-page report compared to 28 pages, and what happened? You're leaving some important information out. And you know how people are today. Any excuse they can find, that's what they use. So, I'm just giving a suggestion, that's all.
Roddy, did you have another comment?
I just didn't know if we need to call a vote to add an executive summary, or if it needed to be just added.
I'd like to make a comment or two and see if there's more discussion.
Okay.
So I also got Conrad Como, that our tax assessor for Lafayette Parish, called me today. And I don't know if you guys got a printout. Joseph, did you print this out? Yeah. Did y'all get that? So Conrad had made a presentation to us early in our meetings, and he sent us something we can make available to the public. We've talked about the percentage of the city of Lafayette's population declining, and the other municipalities very much increasing in population, and the unincorporated areas. But he sent something today. He said, I want to ask you guys to include this in the report. So, Roddy, thank you, but there's a couple of things I'd like to see us also possibly have a motion on. and then Stewart and the drafting committee can go from here. But what he said was, and I want to read this for the record, and we can make this available for the media. In 1996, the total assessed value in Lafayette Parish was $691 million plus, of which 68.55% of that value was in the city of Lafayette. So that was at the point originally when we consolidated and everybody thought the city was going to remain, the largest part of Lafayette Parish. That percentage reached a high point in 1997 of 68.8%. Since that time, the total assessed value in Lafayette Parish grew to $2,600 million plus in 2020. But here's the important point. The percentage of the parish-wide total that is in the city of Lafayette has continuously dropped since a high point of 1997 to approximately 59% today. So our population has dropped to 51%, and the percentage of assessed value has also dropped dramatically. Likewise, that same pattern was taking place in the unincorporated areas of the parish. So while the unincorporated areas of the parish have grown to almost 30% of our population, if you look back in 1996, the total assessed value in the unincorporated area was $161,078,000, or 23.28% of the parish total. Today, that percentage is down to approximately 19.5%. So the city of Lafayette has shrunk in percentage, and while the unincorporated areas of the parish have grown in population, they have shrunk in taxable base, total assessed value, which is where they get their money from. So in 1996, the combination of total assessed value in the city of Lafayette and the unincorporated area amounted to 91.83% of our entire parish total, which is pretty much everything, because the small towns were small towns. Now, today, that percentage is only 78.5%. It is clear that the smaller municipalities have fared much better in terms of economic growth than has the city of Lafayette, and may I add, the unincorporated areas. So in regards to annexations, he gave us a chart that we can share with people. You can see below that the smaller municipalities collectively have had a greater impact on the parish property tax revenues than has the city of Lafayette. And on our phone call, I want to add, he particularly talked about Broussard, and we all know that Broussard is along, Highway 90. And I took that route yesterday to the airport in New Orleans, so I didn't have to fight the traffic in Baton Rouge. And that is full of commercial buildings. And there is a huge growth in that corridor. Even though the oil and gas community is suffering, there's a great growth of commercial buildings. And he explained to me again, as we heard earlier, that I said, what about River Ranch? Like, we have so many expensive homes here. Not all of us live in those, of course, but there are a lot of big homes in Lafayette. And he said, Jan, that's a drop in the bucket compared to the commercial taxable value. And so a lot of our surrounding municipalities have annexed land, and those commercial properties are worth quite a bit. And so our taxes have been skewed. And I'd like to also bring this up for the committee's consideration, that we add it to where we talked about the percentage of parish and other municipality growth, if I may just bring that up. And I'd also like to bring up that I'm getting calls from people. I think we're getting traction from the community that wouldn't come to these public meetings but want to know more. I'm hearing, as we did in our public meetings, that people don't want to rush, but they want to hear more. And I'm hearing overall that we really need to focus on the city of Lafayette needs its own mayor. And I've also been asked a lot, do you guys want to go back to how we were in 1992, 1990? And I have not heard that from any of our meetings or any of our committee members or anybody that spoke in the public. If I'm not saying too much in one gasp of breath here, I haven't heard that we want to go back to total deconsolidation. We want to look at a reorganization of government, delivery of services, or what we call deconsolidation, where we look at possibly intergovernmental agreements to allow people in our city and other cities and the parish to work as a team. And so I'm going to be quiet And if we can maybe then get a little bit more discussion, because I think we have a lot to say before we vote on how we move forward with our draft report. Roddy, were you up again, or was that from your last comment?
I mean, I can talk if you'd like.
Well, you have something to say?
Yeah,
Okay.
I always have something to say. No, that was one of the things that I had on my notes here, was to bring up a possible reorganization of thinking about it that way. Can we keep consolidated services and reorganize our governing bodies a different way? Do we still need, if we consolidate services and then divvy them up between the city and the parish, this parish, I mean, we talked about it when Jeff was here. Could the parish own drainage? City would definitely own fire department and city police. If we can figure out where the services go and we split the mayor's role, there's no need for the entity called Lafayette Parish Government or Lafayette Consolidated Government. So we'd be doing more of a reorg. It wouldn't be, to me, that wouldn't be deconsolidation, it'd be more consolidation. So I don't know, I think sometimes we use the word deconsolidation, but sometimes that path or that meaning gets a little blurred sometimes. So I think we need to stress in the document, maybe there's some different ways of doing this besides what people think is deconsolidation,
Right.
which is going back to the way it was in the 90s. I think that's maybe where they're getting that at, because we've talked about deconsolidation before, and that was kind of the plan. So maybe that's where they're getting it from. I'm not sure.
And in answering that, as the committee chair and then letting others talk, I want to make it clear, we are a committee. We have no authority. So anything we do will be recommended to go to a charter commission. And we're here to make recommendations. We cannot make these determinations. We're like one step on the path to a better government. Mark?
I agree with what Roddy says. And it, in a way, this 28-page paper addresses some of those issues. And in saying I believe the language, Stuart, is in the interim. In other words, as if deconsolidation doesn't happen, or I guess maybe in the interim, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I know I'm sitting here talking to you, your mic's probably not hot, but is your thought that if it does go to a commission, that in the interim between that time, because that could take up to 18 months, that these 5 or 6 suggestions that you put in there toward the end, was that your thought?
Yeah, I mean, the thought is the ultimate proposal or the ultimate recommendation of the report was that we have separate city and parish governments, however you want to phrase that. And these other recommendations at the end of the report were, obviously, none of them would be necessary if there was a deconsolidation or reorganization. But, so yes, I mean, there's an interim component there.
Such as completely separating the budgets, having the council exert more authority, those kind of things. So that was like, even if nothing happens with the Charter Commission, we're asking that the city council take our recommendations. And we did hear last night from Mr. Lewis that it's not as easy as saying that. It can be a challenge. If you'd like to talk on that, Pat, I mean, you said that last night for people that weren't here, that you guys can come up with ideas, but you don't always have your sway with the administration, such as with the city attorney and other things.
Yes, there are issues that come around the city. Okay, I want everyone to realize that this is a city committee right now. Yes, it's not the parish involvement, but again, it should be a city only, because it's the city that's are the one that's really, how can I say it, not the only one that's suffering, but also the parish has a play in that as well. They're not getting what comes to them as all also. So we separate the mayor president start off, and like Roddy was saying, it may be a reorganization, but then you have to get the other municipalities. That's what I meant, not easy to say it as done. The other municipalities to agree with the intergovernment contract, or whatever you want to call it. Just like what happened in 92, 96, the other municipality didn't want to come in with the city of Lafayette. So what happens? Lafayette takes all the burden. So that's what people need to understand. The people that's involved in that, the people that had been coming to the meeting, mostly all of them were city taxpayers. So they are concerned about their dollars, their pocketbooks, or their purse. You know, they are concerned about that. The parish, again, when you talk about the parish, let's identify. You have 6 municipalities. We already know: Lafayette, Scott, Dusson, Broussard, Youngsville, and Carencro. Total of 6 municipalities, right? But when you talk about the parish, everyone in Lafayette parish consists of these municipalities. So you all pay property tax to the parish. Everyone pays property tax to the parish. But when it comes to the city taxes, at the end of the year when you get your tax bill, your city tax stay in that city you belong to, or that municipality you belongs to. That's where your city taxes stay at. So when we talk about an agreement contract, will these municipalities want to get involved? Because remember, the unincorporated area, all these little areas that don't belong to a city, pay no city tax. And the only municipality that help these unincorporated areas are Lafayette taxpayers. Only Lafayette taxpayers. Because what happened in 92, 96, the other 5 municipalities said they didn't want to do cost sharing, where they would put in a percentage for the unincorporated areas. Again, that happened in 96. So Jansen wanted to ask you if you would like to go back the way it was back then. But back then you had what they call police jury. So they took care of the parish, what have you. Lafayette took care of his own. So do you want to go back? That might have been a question that we need to ask. Do you want to go back where these municipalities that took care of their own? We have a chart right now that's showing that how all the small municipality grew, but Lafayette Parish shrunk. So that's something that we need to take into consideration. Yes, do you want to go backwards, or do you want to move forward? When we split the charter back in 2018, what happened? Everything was supposed to move forward, don't stop. And let me backtrack a little bit. In 92, 96, when we consolidated, what happened? Things just stayed there. Nobody did anything to make a change. No one made a change. From 96 till I think 2013, if I'm not mistaken, that's when they tried to bring it back on a ballot. But nothing changed. And I must say, I wasn't for fixing the charter. I was one of them was against it. But I did say, if it happens, I'm going to do everything. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue to reach the goal that I'm trying to reach now. Whereas that Lafayette has its own mayor. Lafayette can protect itself. I want to protect the city of Lafayette, just like some of the parish council members, they want to protect their own as well. But you have around, 70,000 people that live in unincorporated areas that are not paying city tax, but they want the same services that every municipality have. And if you live in the city and you're a city taxpayer, so is it fair that you pay for someone that do not want to pay their own for themselves? Think about that. Thank you.
And I've been getting a lot of calls. We're going to move on to other committee members. I've gotten a lot of calls from my friends asking about the improvements that they've seen in Youngsville, Broussard, and Carencro in particular. Well, did we pay for that park? You know, like in Youngsville, they have that great park. And I'm like, no, Youngsville does its own thing. So what we're doing is shining the light on how government runs. And I think a lot of City of Lafayette residents don't understand that the other municipalities, they have taxed themselves more than we have. They can pass taxes, they can pass TIF districts, and they are growing because they are providing services. But a lot of people I know didn't realize that Lafayette wasn't paying for the Youngsville Park or the Broussard Park. So I'm really happy that we're at least shining the light on how government does function and where we are. So I'm going to give the microphone to Mark.
Can you go to Bill? Maybe let Bill and Tag talk before me, please.
Bill?
Okay. Just a couple of points to make. I think it's imperative that, if we move towards getting a mayor as the first step, that along with the mayor position, we also have to include a legal department for the city of Lafayette, okay? That would be imperative for me to piggyback those two positions. The second point is, if we just go to a mayor, who's going to manage the employees? Okay, would a clean break be the most efficient road to travel? You do it, it's done. I don't know, but anyway, just some things to consider.
Food for thought. What I would like to see is a separate parish president with his council, a mayor for the city of Lafayette with his council, and all the other 5 municipalities hold on to their mayor and council. I would like to see created legally a legal entity, a council of mayors, where all 6 municipalities, their mayor would sit on this council. And the parish president, you have 6. The parish president would be the tiebreaker if it ever got to that. So that's not diminishing his power in any way. If we have a 3-3 vote, the parish president votes. He breaks the tie. I would also, in this schematic, like to see the city of Lafayette maintain its own budget, just like the other 5 municipalities are doing. And whenever there is a problem that needs solving in the unincorporated areas, this council of mayors can meet officially, not like they're meeting now over a good Acadian meal and highballs after the meal. They can have that after the meeting. Let them meet and decide. If there is a problem down in the Scott area, in the unincorporated areas, they can discuss that problem and through intergovernmental agreements, solve it. All 6 municipalities, not just one. That's what I would like to see. I don't know if that's wishful thinking or I'm out on a cloud, but to me, that would resolve everything. And we as a parish and a city and the other municipalities would move as one. We are one. We are Lafayette Parish. All citizens in Lafayette Parish is one. And that's just the way it is. So why not come together? We're not taking power from any one entity. We are putting the powers together for a better community, a better Lafayette Parish. This is a Christian community. Here we believe in forgiveness. It is said that people come here for the food, they come for the culture, they come for arts. But the basic bottom outline, I believe, why people move here is because we are a Christian community. So let's everybody get together, we as one, and move forward.
Wow. I think that's the first we've heard that. So your recommendation is probably something that would be considered by a charter commission?
I don't know if, I don't know if that is in the scope of what we're doing, but I just thought that I started out with food for thought. It's
Yeah.
just something to think about.
Well, I propose we at least talk about the Cajun food and the highball.
I think so, the Cajun food and highballs, like at all of our meetings, you know. So you're looking at ownership of all our parish residents and not just the city of Lafayette taking ownership of parish problems
Right.
or
And
problems.
we
Problems,
solve, we
yeah.
solve one another problems. We are one.
So if I may, I've learned this from V. We take this under advisement. I think everybody lets it percolate. And I think that's food for thought for the next step. And I really do love your idea. Because now we have the Council of Governments, but they, like you said, they really just meet informally to get to know each other, but they don't really solve each other's problems. Okay, thank you, Doug. Mark, you want to go next?
Yes, thank you. I want to put the train back on the track with Roddy's comment, and Roddy and I have had some brief discussions, and I'm not going to give up the mic again, so maybe just a head nod. I think in our brief discussion, I think what you're not saying specifically is there are, right now, as we sit here, two ways to address changes. And I do acknowledge that I understand about the mayor and the growing population, and at some point, more people will vote for the mayor president outside of the city of Lafayette, and that does not seem right. So we have some agreement there, but I think the thought is that, let's say theoretically, the vote is yes to deconsolidate. Theoretically, the parish council jumps on board and says, yes, they agree, and a charter commission is created. That charter commission comes up with a plan. Plan B to do it is the councils have the authority to do it, just as in fix the charter. They come together, they negotiate. I don't know the process, but it seems pretty simple. They come to an agreement where each council must vote 4 of 5, tweaking what we currently have. And I think there is a way to have an exclusive mayor for the city of Lafayette. There are communities around us and in the state that have a parish manager or administrator. Could that happen and still have a, quote, consolidated government? Because, see, my approach, one of the things at the top of my list why I do not like the notion of deconsolidation, excuse me, you folks remember on March 30th, our first speaker, Lynn Guidry, I worked with the man for 6 years. I'll tell you, I served in my 27-year career. I've worked with many a council member. That was one of the hardest working persons I worked with. He did his homework. He called me on a regular basis to ask questions. And Mr. Guidry's thought was there are efficiencies built into consolidation. And that's part of what I'm saying. Over those 25 years, the whole notion that the parish is not paying its fair share, that's part of my challenge. Okay? So I'll just leave that, and I also liked his comment, kind of lighthearted. He said, if you folks deconsolidate, you're going to be back here in 5 years looking to reconsolidate. And if you do deconsolidate, how do you put the parish government back together again? It's going to be harder than putting Humpty Dumpty back together again. Again, those are the words of Lynn Guidry, and those are kind of my thoughts. And so, but I do like Roddy's idea about there's 2 options, tag through in a third one. There's probably 4 or 5 options that we could do without a commission and having to wait 18 months for an end product.
Mark, thank you. And Mr. Guidry also said, along with those comments, that we are killing the goose that lays the golden egg under our current form of government. Mr. Guidry, Lynn Guidry said that we are killing the goose that laid the golden egg under our current form of government. So he, and along with others, Kevin Nakan, Jay Castile, and others, see the plight that our city is under. They want to make sure that we don't just split the sheets and leave people in a lurch. But they've all acknowledged that we are killing the goose that laid the golden egg. And we talked about that last night. We're the hub city because of our forebears investing where others wouldn't do it. And so that's where we are today. I'm going to turn over this to Roddy.
Yeah, so getting to a different topic, one of the things when I was reading through this document that I thought was clear, but someone brought up and said it wasn't too clear, there's a line in here, and I'm going to read it verbatim. The so-called allocation formulas employed to determine how much the city and parish should pay for consolidated government are wholly unscientific. I want some clarification on that statement because I always thought it meant that the process in which we apply the allocation formula we felt was unscientific or was not sound. But I believe the allocation formulas themselves, the methods they come up with, are sound allocation formulas. There's nothing wrong with the actual formulas themselves, but the application of those formulas, I think, is where we kind of have had issues. I just want to make sure we clarify that statement, because what I believed it to be and what someone else told me, or I heard, was two different things, so I can construe where that, or I can see where that sentence is construed two different ways.
So are you saying instead of unscientific, unpredictable? I mean, they are sound under accounting principles, but
Yeah.
there are 25 different allocation formulas. And so they've varied from administration to administration.
I'd probably say something to the effect of the application of the allocation formulas are inconsistent, and that would more, I think, accurately reflect what we've seen, because it is true, one year in the Durrell administration was 55-45 or 60-40, and the next year was 80-20. So we kind of see where those allocation formulas, where they're sound, but maybe their application isn't what we believe is sound. And that's just, I want to bring that up for clarification purposes.
Do you need to comment, Stuart, as chair of the drafting, or is that something you can look at with your team? Okay. All right.
Yes, I'd like to leave the politics out of the decision-making, whatever happens. Let's not depend on our elected officials to come together and decide this. Just like this committee is a committee of homeowners and taxpayers moving forward, that's what the Charter Commission would be. Taxpayers and homeowners, people that is concerned about their city and parish. That way, the people would have made the decisions. Let's keep in mind that the people elect the elected officials, and their role in what we are doing, that they should not participate. That's my feelings.
Stuart Bro.
We'll just speak about the issue of the councils versus a charter commission. And I think the first thing to think about is that we are a Protect the City committee. And I think we're looking ahead to say, well, how are our recommendations going to be received by the parish council, by other people? When we are drafting a report for the city council, who are politicians and know how to play politics, and I don't think that we need to water down our report to, out of a sense that we're trying to broker a compromise on their behalf. They're more than capable of doing that. If our conclusion is that separating the city and the parish is the right thing to do, then that should be the recommendation of our commission. The other thing that I would say is that I'm not sure that amending the charter to install 2 executives is a tweak of the charter. I think it is at that point, you're really hollowing out the charter and replacing it with something else. And it's amendment in name only so that you can have the councils do it. I think that in itself raises a legal question. The Constitution of the state of Louisiana provides that proposing a charter can only happen through a charter commission. And that's essentially what we're doing. And for some reason, in their infinite wisdom, the framers of the Constitution incorporated that provision. And as Tag said, that was likely due to the fact that they wanted politics out of the process. I find it hard to believe that a charter commission is going to take any longer than the councils working together on amendments. So the idea that it's going to take 18 months versus the councils can bang something out in a couple months, I don't see that happening. But fundamentally, by separating the executive within consolidation, which is the only way you could amend the charter to have 2 executives, you would still have to have separate civil service departments, separate attorneys, separate finance departments, because you can't have an intergovernmental agreement that says you can use my lawyer. when we may end up being, we, the parish, end up on the other side of the city, or we, the city, may end up on the other side of the parish. I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." And that's essentially what you'd be creating. The only way to really set it up in a way that is sustainable and makes sense is to have two separate entities with two separate charters, and that can only be done through a charter commission. Now, the other thing to consider with the charter commission is that a charter commission can propose multiple options. They can put on the ballot different proposals, and the people can vote among not just yes or no, but yes to this one, no to that one, and no to that one. So the Charter Commission has a lot more leeway once it gets its work going to propose solutions. So for those reasons, I am in favor of a Charter Commission and not in favor of trying to what I would consider doing an end run around the Constitution to have this be a, quote, amendment. And I would distinguish separating the executives from separating the councils, because the councils within the government, within LCG, you're just taking the two existing entities, city and parish, and creating, instead of having one legislative body over them, you have one over the city and one over the parish. You still have a unified executive and a unified administration, and the 10, 12, 15 departments within the administrative branch of this government, all answering to a single person, and you have a single mayor president who proposes a single budget, and so once you start pulling at the threads, you end up in a place that you know, it's much more radically different to have two executives than it is to have two councils. So those are my thoughts.
Thanks, Stuart. And I looked at the law today. I read Article 5 of the Louisiana Constitution and Title 33 on charter commissions, and it seems like that's probably what our report will entail, our recommendations again to the city council, and we may even look at a sample ordinance that they might follow to move quickly after we adjourn our committee. But I did want to put that up there, that I think Stuart is capable as chair of the drafting committee with other input, but we'd be looking at the Louisiana Constitution and Title 33 of the revised statutes of the state of Louisiana on this end. We have Roddy Bergeron.
Yeah. To kind of strengthen your argument, Stuart, it's one thing that I've wondered, if we make too many changes to the current charter, is it considered a new charter anymore? The philosophical debate of how many boards can you change on a ship before it's not the same ship anymore comes to mind. So that's a concern, because we want to go through this whole process, call a charter commission, have it go to the voters, and then have legal challenges based on that. It is a concern. It's something that we need to address, or at least be cognizant of, or if a charter commission gets called, cognizant of making, or let me not say charter commission, if it goes to the city and the parish councils to make amendments, how many amendments is too much before it's a whole new document? So just, Stuart, I agree with you on that we got to be really aware of that, because that can tie up legal challenges for many years.
Yeah, I agree that there are legal issues, and, you know, Stuart, being an attorney, would bring those up. So I think one of the tweaks, as it were, that could be done or needs to be done in the interim, even what exists in this report right now, in the interim, parish government is not defined. And parish government has evolved since 1996 to become something that it never was, and it never was intended to be. It was little more than a public works department. Should not be paying for community development. One of Mr. Durrell's deficits from 2016 was, hey, parish government, you owe $847,000 more dollars to recreation. 31 parks in the city of Lafayette, 4 in the parish, in the unincorporated parish, numerous rec centers, I don't know how many in the city, none in Lafayette Parish. How do you get $847,000 out of that? Is it called membership dues? I don't know. Anyway, I'll leave that as it were. There are legal issues. This is a comment specifically in the report, page 15. C, growth in Lafayette Parish since consolidation. Kind of along the lines of one of the other comments that was made about the wholly unscientific comment. I'm reading about midway through that first paragraph. Although several factors, we're talking about growth, again, that's in the title. Although several factors have contributed to this trend, meaning growth, consolidation played a role. And my question is, really? How? I'd like some explanation there. That just kind of floats. There's no definition given to it. You go through the rest of the other 2 pages, it's a 3-page section, and you get no explanation about how consolidation contributed. I don't think it did contribute. I think the free market operated, and you guys remember that from a paper I turned into you. I think consolidation was a non-factor. So I'd like to make that comment. I think that this comment just floats. There's nothing to back it up. And when I read it, I said, really? Well, and I looked for the answer or the detail behind it, and there is none. Just a comment.
Would you repeat your
On the
thesis
report,
again?
page 14 of the draft report.
I thought you said 15. I was trying to find that language.
No, ma'am. Page 14,
I misheard you.
it's under subsection C, growth in Lafayette Parish since consolidation.
Right.
And it's a relatively short sentence, about halfway down. I'll read it again. Although several factors have contributed to this trend, consolidation played a role. And there's no explanation as to confirm or substantiate that claim. Thanks.
Do you feel that taking out that sentence would make the report acceptable to you? Would you vote for it? Can we do that? And then you'd vote for the report?
At first blush, it's...
Like if we took that sentence out, you would join us in approving the report? Okay. So Stuart, we can mark that. And that can probably be changed. If you would vote for the report, we'd have a 7-0 vote. Thank you, Mark.
Alternative to that, I would say that Mark's point is noted, and that there are issues that are arguments that one could make that consolidation did play a role. One of those being the sale of water outside of the city limits, which occurred first under Walter Como, and there are other. Put it this way, we won't include that line in the report if it can't be accurately backed up, and we can revisit that. And if at the end of the day there's no way to justify it, we'll certainly strike it.
Thank you. I meant to mention last night, Harold Scheffler came up to me after our town hall meeting, and he's a big Sierra Club guy, and he's a big supporter. He and his wife are there, and he was talking about the sale of water to other municipalities, and he said, the city of Lafayette, most of us pay about $100 a month for water, and outside the city, the other municipalities have access to our water, including Broussard, and they pay much less than we do. And this is Harold telling me this, and I trust him because I know he doesn't speak unless he's really researched, but I think our findings, including your thoughts, Mark, are unearthing, questions about what's going on. What has caused this to be an issue? But there's a lot that can come out in a charter commission where we can actually see what's fair, what's not fair. Does anyone else have any comments? Have we kind of brought up related to the topic we're at, both the report and the public input? Okay.
All right, so one of the things that I keep hearing and I've heard is the use of the word commingling of funds. And I just want to make it clear, the word mingle, or co-mingle, or co-mingle does not appear in this report. I searched it. I wanted to make sure. That word does not appear in this report. So I want to make that clear. I think what's going on, we all I know Mark and I were at the council meeting when they discussed the financial audit. Commingling of funds just means that a city tax dollar that comes in does not automatically go to a parish fund. They don't commingle dollars in that way. And the auditor is actually tracking expenditures and making sure the expenditures are correct. They don't track usage. That's a completely different function. A forensic auditor would have to come in and track usage. So the auditor is correct that they're not commingling funds, and we didn't put it in this report for that reason. And I think commingling funds would actually be illegal. That's beyond our scope here. But I just want to make that clear. We didn't talk about commingling of funds or mingling of funds in this report, and I don't think the government's doing that. We do have an issue with usage, though. Whether or not I brought up a question during this committee. When a fire truck from the city, which is 100% paid for by the city, they get a little bit of parish reimbursement. But are we being adequately reimbursed for those services that go to the unincorporated area of the parish? And we were told we don't know. We'd have to get back with us. I asked a question about labor usage, whether or not if an 80-20 split in labor accurately reflects that 80% of the labor is being done inside the city. We were told they don't track that. So while the auditor is saying there's no commingling of funds, I think our issue here is usage, and I just want to make that clear to people that when they hear the term commingle or this report's wrong because we don't commingle funds, that's not in this report at all, and I just wanted to make that clear to people.
And I've heard that from some of the other mayors, in particular about the fire protection issues. I know I heard from Mayor Glenn Brasso and Scott and others. It's not just Lafayette. Other towns go to the aid of the unincorporated areas of the parish, and they're not adequately reimbursed, but they help their neighbors because it's the right thing to do, but it's not being covered by the unincorporated areas of the parish. Do we have any other feedback? I'd like to mention a couple of things. Jamie Angel had reached out to me. I think he met with Bill Leindecker yesterday, and he does the public statements on behalf of Josh Guillory. He's offered to help us format our report just as they did internally for our mayor president's responses to our committee. I have to say, this is just my thought. We're not going to have pictures, and it's really just a Word document we can save as a PDF. I don't know that we need to have formatting, but I wanted to mention that that was offered, and I thought it was kind. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, but my thought was, I think the way it is, we can just format it. I mean, Stuart, if you need help with, like indentions and all, like, but let's see, Tag, you want to make a comment?
Yes, I don't think we need formatting. I think this document, there are no graphs, there are no pictures. It's good reading.
Thank you. Stuart?
Yeah, I'm probably indented enough as it is. So I do think it's a very kind offer, and I appreciate it. But I don't think that we need to go down that road.
Thanks. And let's see, Mark?
I'm sorry. So, Stuart, I think it's mainly in the body of the paper. I'm on page 19 here. When you make the references of Professor Hunter Bacow, and throughout we have ID. The heck is that? It's italicized.
It is. It's a Latin abbreviation meaning that refer to the previous citation. So the citations may be something else that needs to be addressed. They probably don't.
Don't use legal terms.
Right. Or Latin terms. But pig Latin maybe.
Like, for example.
Right. So yeah, it's a reference to the previous citation.
All right, so we've had our discussion. I would like to bring up, before we allow public comments, I think our next meeting was scheduled for possibly the 13th, and I won't be able to be here. I want to see us move forward. I'd like to look if we could move to that next week to where we're looking at our final draft report. I wanted to bring this up for discussion. I don't want to hold back our work, though, but I'll be driving back from a family trip, and I cannot meet the week of the 13th, and it'll be that next week. Stuart, if you can comment, too, with the discussions we've had and we'll have maybe some more public input tonight, but what kind of time do you think you need? This is going to take some time to pull together public input and the discussion we've had.
Yeah, in a way, pushing that, I guess our current schedule is, I believe, that we would adopt a report a month from today, or July 22nd.
Yeah, and I can be here for that.
But, and you had said we could move the 13th. Oh, so the 13th would be the next week, right? I guess it's up to the committee whether we should have another meeting before then. But pushing it back definitely gives us more time to produce a final, or a document for final consideration, which I think can't hurt.
So V, the city council meets what, did they meet on the 20th?
The first and third Tuesdays of the month.
Okay, so if we met maybe the Wednesday, would that work? The
Or the Thursday.
21st or 22nd of July, is anybody else going to be traveling? Y'all know what your schedules are? We're like Podunk. I'm driving out west in my car, and we're driving back. So it's going to be a extended trip with my young daughter, and I'm excited. But I could meet the 21st or 22nd if other committee members could.
Would that be to replace the 13th, and we'd still have our 27th meeting? Is that the idea? I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at my
Wait, the
calendar.
20 of July?
Right,
If we
we
met.
would have met on the 13th and the 27th.
If we met the week of, like, the 21st, 22nd, we may not need to meet at the end of the month. I'm okay having two meetings, like 2 weeks in a row, but I'm not sure we'd need to have both if we are adopting.
And it has been brought to my attention as it relates to the resolution that was approved creating the Protect the City Committee, that it's a 6-month term, and it will expire at the end of that 6 months. Well, the resolution was approved on January 19th of this year, so the 6-month would be July. Well, if you're talking the 20th, it would expire. So I'm not sure if we would need to go back to the council to extend the term, or it could be placed on, it's a resolution, so something could be placed on the July 6th meeting agenda to extend the term.
No, it's not from the time we first met.
It says, "The term of the committee members shall expire with either the filing of the committee's final report with the Lafayette City Council or 6 months after the committee is appointed, whichever comes first." So I guess once the final report, so I guess that does extend it out.
Well, I believe we were appointed on the 23rd of February, so I think our term would expire August 22nd or 23rd.
Okay, and I'm not sure if it's when the resolution was adopted or,
Because we weren't appointed yet.
okay, right,
Right.
correct.
They came up with the idea, but we weren't appointed until, I think, later
The
February.
February, okay,
Yeah, but I don't want to blow this.
okay, so that
Oh,
would be
no, Then we'd have to
August.
start again, huh, Mark? Okay,
Okay.
maybe we can
Got it.
check on that. We'll,
But if it is appointed, then you would have until
okay.
August.
So what do you guys think? The 21st or 22nd?
Jan, the 22nd works better for me. The 21st is the Transportation Policy Committee.
Okay.
meeting that I'm on, so it's
Yeah,
like-
I mean, I'm open. You guys think July 22nd, a Thursday? It's a Thursday. You want to meet at 11 or at 5:30? You want to meet in the evening again for the public?
Yeah. the final
Tina,
adoption.
Mark, Roddy, Bill, everybody good? Pat, does that work for you?
Well, we can do the 21st after hours, too. It's just during the day I can't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open. So,
Because we follow up on a council meeting and we have deadlines to meet immediately following a council meeting the day after, in fact, staff comes in early to meet those deadlines, it would be better for the staff if it could be the Thursday.
okay. Thank you. All right. Any other thoughts from so do we need to have a motion to accept our discussion and be incorporated into the final draft the drafting committee is working on? Is that something we need a motion on?
I think that maybe for the next meeting, because I think you need clarity on exactly what you would be making a motion on to include into the report. So, I mean, you can provide feedback on that question, but I would just think that provide clarity. Not only that, before you vote, the citizens need to know what you're going to be voting on and need to be able to appear and be provided with the opportunity to comment on it before you vote on anything.
Tonight.
Correct.
So are you saying we need to let other comments tonight?
Well, if you are clear on what you're voting on, could you
I think we
restate
can
that?
state it, yeah.
Okay.
You want me to state it, or
Yes,
can
ma'am.
someone else? Stuart, do you have the notes, or would you like me to state what the motion is? What the changes would be to the draft report?
Yeah, go ahead. I
Okay.
don't have.
And I'm going to talk out loud, and then maybe, do you have notes, Roddy? Would you like to make a note? Okay.
See if I can do this, right, first time I make an amendment, so. So I want to make a motion to add the following or strike the following from our finalized report. A, to discuss other options, including reorganization. To A, add reorganization or other options as opposed to just deconsolidation? Do we all, or how do you want to word that?
I would suggest before you make a motion, just to list them, and
Okay.
then it could be more clear to the committee members as well.
Add an appendix, add an executive summary, reword or strike the use of the term unscientific formulas. The page 14, section C, that consolidation played a role in annexations, to strike that or reword it, or to find facts that support that argument. And then I think Mark made an option about the parish not being defined during the interim changes section. Is that correct? Or is that, maybe I was just writing stuff down? Okay, I'm gonna strike that then. But that's the 5 things I had written down here.
Recommending to the city council an ordinance they move forward with the charter commission under the Louisiana Constitution and the revised statutes. And next, that the report be reorganized to include an executive summary on page 1 and possibly 2. Is there anything else? Yeah, so let's talk about the reorganization. I've thrown that term out instead of deconsolidation. Exactly what are you saying with that?
Some people believe, like you said, that the consolidation, I'm just making sure my mic's hot, is that goes back to a split like we had in the 90s, like where we separated services, but or are we just going to leave that open to the Charter Commission to come up with recommendations on how to split it? I wasn't clear on that.
Stuart?
I'm not sure that, like, formally amending the document to discuss that at this point is the best, because I think we're all a little unclear exactly on the terminology. I think that's something that the committee, the drafting committee, can discuss, and we'll come to a conclusion as to how best to phrase it. I mean, my interpretation would be that what we're saying is any split of the governments will involve specifically divvying up responsibilities and having intergovernmental agreements ready to go, so that nobody is left in the cold holding the bag, that there is a plan and, for whatever contingencies arise. I don't agree to put another option for a reorganization that would be within the, to have a council-led amendment process or something like that. I would not support that. So
you want to leave that to the Charter Commission, let them discuss it? Because that's the councils, okay. Bill?
Yes, I agree with Stuart, and I would just like to leave it up, to the Charter Commission.
So I have a question, V, we're looking now, so we're on the 22nd of June, so we would not be meeting on the 13th, or maybe the committee would meet without me, I mean, whatever y'all want to do. We're looking at meeting on July 22nd. So the drafting committee can make these changes. They can forward it to us, the PDF, as a committee. But then if we meet on the 22nd of July, may we vote then? I mean, maybe we make it available to the public on the
Yes.
site, and we let people speak before we vote.
Correct.
But we can vote on it that night.
Yes,
and then
ma'am, because it
it's
would be made
done.
available to the public, so
Yeah.
they would know what would be considered.
Okay, so Stuart, as head of the drafting committee, is that doable? Because I want to make sure we're giving the public ample opportunity to look at this.
Right.
And they can come that night, or they can email, they can call us personally, we can share their thoughts. And so let's say there's a few amendments that night, we can then vote on it that night and still have it final?
Correct.
We
You
can
can
make
vote
those
on it that night,
discussions.
especially if you put your agenda out prior to the
Okay.
meeting stating that you will be considering amendments to the draft report.
And then we'll
Or
have that.
finalizing the draft report.
We'll have that 7-0 vote. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay.
So you're looking at June 22nd.
We'll be within the 6-month parameter, but maybe we need to check with legal, but my understanding was from the time we were appointed. and
Correct.
We weren't all
And it did say
appointed on that.
So
Yeah.
it is this, it would be August.
Okay.
So we are looking at June 22nd.
July 22nd.
July 22nd, I'm sorry, July
Yeah, at
22nd.
5:30.
And it'd be at 5:30, that was my other question.
Okay, so now we need to make the official motion. You want to do that, Roddy? And put yourself on the mic. Let's see.
Sorry.
Okay.
So I just want to be clear, the part about reorganization, we're going to drop that. Okay. I just wanted to be clear. I was just taking notes through here for things when the drafting committee meets, to make sure I had a checklist. All right. So I want to make a motion that we amend the draft report to include an appendix, an executive summary that outlines just a general overview on page 1 and 2 of the document, that we either strike the use of the term unscientific formulas or reword that so that it more accurately describes our thoughts. To review page 14, section C, the section about consolidation playing a role, and either back that up with facts or strike it from the documents. And then we recommend that the councils or city council move forward with a charter commission under Louisiana revised statutes. Does that cover it? I think it's good.
Recommended ordinance. Another exhibit.
Okay.
Again, and if Stuart could chime in, since he was a assistant city parish attorney at one time, I wouldn't vote on anything tonight as far as these amendments that you guys are presenting, because it wasn't presented to the
I see.
public for them to look at and either say yay or nay or provide input before you vote.
Okay. So then,
No motion. Strike the motion.
no motion.
And you could state it as the recommendation to the drafting, you can do that tonight.
Okay.
And we can all just nod our heads. Everybody good?
Yes.
Everybody good? Pat, are you good? Good? Everybody good? All right.
All right, good.
Okay, I'm good.
Maybe next time I'll make a motion. Maybe next.
All right. Let's see. So we can move forward then. The next agenda, item number 5, is public hearing for citizen comment on the PTC draft report. Did we have any cards?
No, ma'am, we have no
Oh,
cards.
nobody has comment? Nobody that's here? Do you want to change your mind and say something? Nobody has comments. Well, thank you for being here tonight. If there are no speakers, then I think the public hearing for citizen comment is hereby closed. Does anybody have any other comments on anything? Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you all.